In my thoughts and in my dreams, they're always in my mind. These songs of hobbits, dwarves and men, and elves, come close your eyes. You can see them too.
It's kind of weird for me to be talking about this as a first video, because I don't know, it's kind of a negative topic to start out on, but I think it's something that needs to be said, and I don't know. There's in role playing, you deal with all kinds. You know, there's always going to be someone who gets on your nerves, and it's fun. And if they're like being funny, you know, it's when it becomes a problem, and you might not know how to properly deal with it. And this is kind of this is inherently like a negative subject, and like, how am I supposed to know how to deal with problem players in D&D and role-playing? And I got nothing. Well, no. This is kind of a way to deal with a certain kind of problem player, or two certain kinds. One is kind of the guy who hasn't really read the room. And what I mean by that is, like, you guys are wanting to play Star Wars, and he wants to play, I don't know, Spaceballs. That's fair. Or you guys are playing Star Wars, and he's over there, going, ah, your sword, it is as powerful as mine, you know. And, being joking around the table is fine. It's fun to make jokes and riff a little bit. In fact, I'm a bit more lenient when it comes to people joking around with a campaign and, quoting Monty Python. I'm more lenient on that than others. But when people kind of don't know when people don't know what kind of game is running there, that's when it becomes a problem. Because I'll tell you about the Pony Finder game that I've been periodically posting on this channel, which I haven't done recently, and I was supposed to do it last week, but my computer was acting weird, and yeah. A problem that you might have seen in the two sessions that I have posted was that one of the players who doesn't have a mic and is just having technical difficulties constantly abused the chat. We used Roll20, Roll20.com. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. When it just comes down to it. I'm actually impressed with what Roll20 does in regards to character sheets, because you can fill out a character sheet and it provides its own macros. You can really roll your attack without really getting confused about what to roll. It just rolls your attack and then your damage, which might be a handicap for some. I like it because it kind of eliminates the what do I roll problem, which is which might be a problem in a game filled with new people. And that's what this Pony Finder session is. A lot of the people are new. So, the guy I'm talking about, and I'm not even going to say his screen name, he would type joking messages in the chat. Well, really we're we're kind of dealing with our own problems, you know. We're in the middle of a changeling castle, and he got into his head that he wanted to, you know, get everything off of the, like, loot everybody and get all of the weapons and all of the armor, which is fine. You can start to have issues with encumbrance, but that's fine. You can sort of pack rat. But he got it into his mind that he wanted to pack rat, and every so often he would just be waving around what he has and be like, swords! Does anyone want swords? We have swords! It was like, okay, that's kind of funny, but well, it was funny for a while, and like the GM was like, "There's changelings," and he's like, "Do you think they want swords?" And I'm like, okay, man, you're kind of being disruptive now. You know. And after that session 6, I kind of pulled him aside. I pulled him aside in a private message and said, "Hey, can you ease off the jokey sword messages? You know, it's funny, but it's starting to get distracting. You know, we're trying to play a semi-serious game here." Like, I think the GM is intending for it to be kind of closer to a season opener or a season finale of a MLP of a My Little Pony show. You know, that's kind of that. So it's kind of more serious, and even though Pinkie Pie does her stuff, when things are serious, she eases off. She doesn't say anything. She's not, you know, offering. She's not throwing a water balloon at Nightmare Moon. You know what I'm saying? So I told him that, and he was like, "Okay, remains to be seen." He's like, okay. It remains to be seen because our campaign was canceled. And then comes another problem. And this is one that I don't think it's my place as a player. Because as a player, you can be like, okay, man, just, you know, for my personal standpoint, this whole sword thing is kind of getting annoying, and I'm sorry to be rude, but maybe you should focus less on the swords. But another like problem comes with someone who's generally not into the game, because tabletop role-playing is a commitment in itself. It's kind of made for a game, for one night a week where you're off of school or work, and you have your friends gathering around the table and rolling dice. It's really something that you should take seriously, and if you can't make it one or two times, you tell whoever's running the game, or you tell someone, and preferably the GM, like, with some notice, like, you know, just call up the GM and be like, "Hey man, I have a shoot that day, so I'm not going to be able to make it to D&D, or you know, I have a dentist appointment, or my family's going out, or something like that, you know." that's what you should do. And I'm saying stuff that's totally obvious, but there are some people who are like who totally space out. Like, it's not even a malicious like I'm going to skip out on the game and ruin everything. No, it's just that the game is not that important to them. That's wrong. That sounds bad. But it's not entirely inaccurate. The game is not at the forefront of their minds. When they get invited somewhere, or it's not like, oh wait, I have a D&D game. Maybe I should tell the GM. It just faces that in their minds. As a player, you can't really control that. You can complain, but then you become that guy who's like complaining about everything. You can complain to the rest of the group. You can talk to the guy, but that's not your jurisdiction as a player. You can be like, hey, yeah, why don't you play with us more, man? Or why do you always seem to not play, or something like that? And he'll just say, well, yeah, I've missed a couple of games, but I don't hear the GM complaining about it. And then it becomes like you against him, and yeah, so I guess you could talk to the GM about it. You can just be like, I've noticed that this guy never shows up, and when he does show up, he's always like somewhere else. So maybe you should talk to him and see what's going on. And as a GM, you that gives you the jurisdiction to be like, you're always sort of somewhere else. Whether you're at the game or not, you're always somewhere else. Is there a problem? Is there a problem that needs to be fixed here? And actually, I guess the strategy is to sort of put it on him. Ask him, is there a problem? And is there anything we can do? This is the question the GM should ask. Is there anything we need to do to fix this? Is there anything we need to do to help you to remember that there's a game, and to get you more involved? And then that sort of forces them to think, and then it's sort of like their grievances are, they're like, well, yeah, Pathfinder. I don't think Pathfinder is quite for me. I don't think Pathfinder is quite for me. I didn't want to say anything because, and this is actually a reason that maybe even role playing is not for them, and the only reason why they kept role playing with you guys is that they didn't want to disappoint the team. I know that's sort of why that's how I felt sometimes when I've been playing D&D and Pathfinder, is that a lot of times I feel like I didn't make my character right, or I didn't think of anything. I didn't think of a certain happenstance, or a certain, I didn't pre-plan, and now the party is sort of going down. I felt that way, and I should have talked to the GM about maybe I should make a character that'll help, or maybe I should, or maybe how should I build my character so that this doesn't happen again? And that's a good question, because sometimes the DM will throw something at you and you don't know what to do or how to do it. I've gotten into the habit of over planning things, where I have this really neat idea, and the GM didn't think that far ahead. As a GM, you need to think on your feet for once, but the GM didn't think that far ahead, so I can't do my thing. I can't do my thing because the GM is not thinking on thinking about A through he's thinking whatever. The GM didn't think about XYZ the way I did, so. But back on point, the guy who's not coming to sessions or is very weird about going to sessions, ask him what do you need from us to help you. That's a question. And this didn't actually become as negative as I thought, but those are two ways of dealing with problem players that I've seen. So I guess that's it. Talk to them, that's the answer. Talk to them, but pull them aside. I'm don't be what, and don't make your annoyance clear. Make it clear that you're okay, man, I get it. I get that you're trying to be jokey, and it's funny, but we're trying to play Star Wars. We're playing Star Wars. We're not playing Spaceballs, keep it semi-serious. You're becoming the Jar Jar Binks of this campaign. I don't know why I'm talking about Star Wars now. But you're being the Jar Jar Binks of this game, and it's don't be the Jar Jar Binks. So I guess that's it. In the comments, if you like me talking about role playing, I haven't been role playing nearly as long as other people who talk about it. But if you want, tell me in the comments if you want to see me talk more about role playing. If you have ideas of how to deal with problem role players, and it doesn't have to be like a tabletop setting. It can be any kind of role play, YouTube role play, or Roll20 role play, or whatever. Talk about problem players in your campaigns and how you dealt with them. If they're still being a problem, I would say try to deal with the problem first before saying anything. I don't know. Anyway, I've been Rico Fernandez. You've been you, and I have been talking about role playing. Good night, guys.